gosh, what a day he's had.
Still out. We got it.
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle Busch is going to win at Pocono.
I'm Kyle Busch, and you're listening to Jack Root's Wind Tunnel. And the only reason I'm here is I just feel bad for the guy.
You're entering the wind tunnel. No spin, no bull, all Jack. Wind Tunnel is brought to you by
Advance Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.
Here is your host, Jack Root.
Wind Tunnel is back in action, and I'm happy that you've decided to join me here. Now, the lineup this week is just a little bit different due to the passing of one of the true giants in motorsports in the broadcasting world. Later in the episode, I will pay tribute to Bob Jenkins. Bob was a friend, and his career spanned NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and even Formula One. He lost his battle with cancer about a week ago, and I, along with the entire racing family, mourn his passing. This week, I'll also visit with Justin Allgaier, one of the top guns from NASCAR's Xfinity Series. He drives the Branch Chevrolet number 7 for Junior Motorsports, and Justin shares his journey up the ladder to NASCAR's premier divisions, as well as how a chance meeting in Pocono, Pennsylvania, while he was rushing to driver introductions, rescued his dream. In the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap, Langley Speedway's defending track champion, Brenden Queen, visits, and he explains the background behind his nickname, Butterbean. He'll also talk a little bit about what his ultimate racing goal is. But before all of that, Indianapolis Motor Speedway was racing's epicenter this past weekend, with Cup, Xfinity, and IndyCar staging events on the Brickyard's twisting road course. 3 of America's top series racing at the very same track, the first time in American motorsports history that this took place. Saturday saw the renewal of the NASCAR IndyCar doubleheader when IndyCar and Xfinity shared the bill.
Let's go here at the Brickyard. Everybody tucks in line up front. Now they start thinking about making their moves. Will Power in that black car looks outside. Grosjean in the purple car up the inside.
Now this is the battle. Will Power on the alternate tires. Can he take the lead from Pato O'Ward?
He's going to send it right here, Lee. Looking down the inside. Here he comes.
Look out. Power to the lead. Colton Herter and Pato O'Ward
for second place. So the guy who's on the move is Colton Herter right now.
Bellow's got problems, and the championship leader is out.
The motor's gone. Either a turbo or the motor's blown up. This is catastrophic for the points. Grosjean now looking at the back of Herta. Will he pop out? Herta blocks. Oh, big move on the brakes by Grosjean. What a pass.
Oh, but he locked up. He got a little wide. That might give Colton Herta a chance to cross back over.
Pato O'Ward up against the wall.
Oh.
Rossi squeezing him. Inside, the pole sitter gets that position back. It has been a long time, too long. It was here last year in the Harvest Grand Prix where Will Power won. Power, there's nobody better on this track in an IndyCar. Will Power wins.
Hey, man, way to go. There you go, boys.
It's just great when you get in that zone where you're just seeing the tents, grow behind you because you have it on your dash, you can see, and just, you just start getting a little nitpicking, like little tiny details, right? And slowly pulling away. It's a great feeling.
Next up on the Saturday Twin Bill, well, it was time for the NASCAR Xfinity Series to strut their stuff.
Coming to the green flag to get this one underway, A.J. Allmendinger and Austin Cindric. Up through the gears they go.
Oh, we got cars contact back there between several cars. Cars going around.
That looks like Harrison Burton gets up in the air. Everybody behind him, they're all jumping that curve.
Here comes Cindric. He looks for the lead. To the inside of Haley he goes. Cindric outbreaks him.
And they're banging quarter pounds. Sam Mayer's around out of 6. He'll spin to the inside, hard into the tire barrier. They lean on each other. Cindric gives and now Myatt Snyder is in the mix.
Today he's going to win at the historic Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cindric gets the win.
In Indiana, and it seems that I can see. And when I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana home.
In your car after you won, you sang a pretty infamous song, Back Home Again in Indiana. Tell me about that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it every year. I've come to the 500 here, so hopefully I didn't do it too bad, but I guess I'm just happy I remember all the words, but I heard Jim Neighbors singing here the last time he did, so proud that I have a small part in this speedway, at least my family's history.
Before we get to the first ever appearance by NASCAR's Cup cars on Indy's road course, let's catch up on the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series racing action. Here is Performance Racing Network's Lenny Baticki of the show At the Track.
Thanks a lot, Jack. This is your NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report, and we'll start with Berlin Raceway in Michigan and Elko Speedway in Minnesota, the two tracks that'll be on Ryan Blaney's 12 car this weekend at Michigan. Colby Waters victorious in Berlin, while at Elko it was Michael Hagar and Owen Giles splitting the victories. Bethel Motor Speedway in New York to John Cody. Joey Jarvis and Travis Sykes got the checkers at Claremont. Riverhead Raceway to John Baker. Jesse Radetsky got it done at Wisconsin Cedar Lake Speedway, while in Victory Lane at La Crosse it was Dan Fredrickson. Jacob Godey got the checkers at Madison. Central Missouri Speedway, Gunnar Martin victorious there, while Cody Vanderwall won at Colorado National Speedway. Evergreen Speedway out in Monroe, Washington to Mark Hubbard. Jesse Dennis victorious at Iowa's Adams County Speedway. Up in Canada at Grand Bend, it was Steve Aaron. Andy Gilbert, the winner at Autodrome Chaudière. Sunset to Jordan Howes. Craig Van Doren grooving once again at Grandview. Lee USA up in New Hampshire to Frankie Eldridge. Chase Dowling victorious at Monadnock. Kingsport, Tennessee went to Chase Dixon, while Dylan McCowan won at Lakeside in Kansas. At Salina it was Chad Couch. Ryan Wharf victorious at Idaho's Magic Valley, while at Meridian, Daytona Works continues to get the wins there at Meridian. Motor Mile Speedway in Radford, Virginia, Chris Van Dyke and Ryan Wilson split the W's. Chase Belcher victorious at Seekonk in Massachusetts. That's your NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series Racing Report. Thanks for having us, Jack. See you next time.
For more than 20 years, NASCAR's Cup race was held on the 2.5-mile oval, but this year the race was switched to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course.
Coming to the green flag to start a new tradition in Indianapolis.
Well, the 24 is spinning. The 24's, there's multiple cars into the wall here.
The curbing comes up, catches a bunch of the cars, the front ends of the cars, and numerous cars are destroyed. Back up through the gears they go. How will the braking zone work when they get to turn number one? We're mere seconds away. 3 and 4 wide as they go to dive into turn number one.
Denny Hamlin goes on defense. Kyle Larson comes flying around the outside. Kurt Busch is there as well. Bubba Wallace off course. One other car spinning, leaving turn 6. More contact on the straightaway, and there's more calamity on the back straightaway. Here he comes into turn 1. Chase Briscoe's going to give him a run for the money. Here's Briscoe to the outside, but he's going to be offline. No, Briscoe's in the grass. Now it's a battle for the lead with Hamlin and Allmendinger. Briscoe will come back onto the grass, and now he will be side by side with Denny Hamlin.
Oh, he's going to spin Denny. Denny is spun out. The 14 car spun Denny Hamlin out into turn 10.
So A.J. Allmendinger is going to be the leader right here. Ryan Blaney right behind him.
Another chapter written into the Indy history books. A.J. Allmendinger will cross the yard of bricks, the winner of the first ever road course race for the Cup Series.
I mean, this is unbelievable. I in my wildest dreams could never imagine the way that just played out. We had to fight hard. We just wanted Indy. What's up? Let's go!
Well, there you have it. Now you are up to speed.
That's Brenden Queen, better known as Butterbean, Butterbean, who is from Chesapeake, is always focused on getting to victory lane. It took him a while to find it at Langley.
Becomes more than just how good you are. You got to have good equipment, good motors, good crew chiefs, good crew people. It takes a team, you know. So without the whole team, I'm nothing.
You will meet Butterbean Queen in this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap next.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
I'm Kyle Rickey from MRN Radio, the voice of NASCAR. They are the foundation of American motorsports, the launching pad for racing's future. Time now for the Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, driving local racing and local communities forward.
That's Brenden Queen, better known as Butterbean, but you can also call him Champion. In his car number 3, he won the late model title last season.
Taking this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap is the defending track champion at the very famous Langley Speedway, Brenden Butterbean Queen. Brenden, we're happy to have you in the wind tunnel, but I gotta know, how did you get the nickname Butterbean?
Hey, thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. And yes, so it actually started as when I was a baby. I was fat and chubby like the old boxer Butterbean. So my mom would always call me by it. And like I said, I probably answered to it more than my actual name. And then as I got older and my friends found out in school, the next thing you know, they're calling me by my nickname. The teachers are calling me by my nickname. And then it ended up on one of the race cars, and it kind of became a brand. And after a while, I was asked if I wanted to keep it or pursue with just my name. And I started thinking, I'm like, everybody remembers that more than a regular name. You always hear people's names, but I wanted something that made me different or unique to stand out. And I just kind of rolled with it. And now it's become my image. And in the racing world, I feel like my nickname is known way more than my name. I mean, if anybody in the late model world knows the name Butterbean, usually, I would say over Brenden Queen.
Yeah, well, look, it's worked to your advantage, but if you keep winning races like you did 1 year ago, like the Hampton Heat, if you keep winning track championships, they'll know who Brenden Queen is without Butterbean. But let me ask you about this. Your career started about 6 years ago, and you climbed up through the ladder, and now you're defending your track title at Langley Speedway. A track title, by the way, that there weren't a lot of wins. There were big wins, like I said, Hampton Heat a couple last year. So where do you think you can make your racecraft better and gain more victories in the coming years?
I just think it was mainly a confidence thing. I know last year we were so close to winning races, and we won the Hampton Heat, which was huge. But
that's a big deal, dude. Let me tell you,
that's a crown. That's a crown jewel,
Yes, it is.
So for us, winning that was really, really big. Actually, a little insight on me. I started racing when I was 6, so I worked my way up through the karts to the legend cars, and it started late models, 6 or 7 years ago or so. And we just weren't quite, we'd run good and then we'd run bad. And we just weren't consistent enough to win a championship. And then we won the championship in East Carolina the year that Langley closed. And we come back to Langley thinking that we're going to be good. We finally found some magic, and we struggled worse than we ever did. And going into 2020, we had actually kind of made our program a little bit better. I felt like, we had a little bit better race cars. We were had awesome motors from Rayvon Clark, and great partners with old school video games. Everything was kind of coming together, and then bam, we're on pause. The season's on pause. Once we finally got the race, we won the Hampton Heat, like we were saying, and then it's like every week after that, we qualify on the pole and have a shot to win, but we kind of got caught up racing in the points, and we would give up a spot to gain points on somebody instead of risking getting in a wreck or something. So then going into this year, I just was like, we got to show it wasn't a fluke. Let's just come out and go for wins. And we won opening night, and we won. Now we've won 4 races this year. So I think it just was a matter of turning what I found last year and learning like what I needed to feel in the car between the day to nighttime transition. Took all of that into another year of more experience that I've had. And now I'm finally just sealing the deal and putting the pieces to the puzzle. It takes time, and I feel like I learn every time I drive. But obviously, I feel like this year we're trying to make a statement to back up last year.
Well, it's got to help when your crew chief, the guy that twists the wrenches, has won 7 track titles. How important is it to have a guy like that mentor you as you continue to pursue your racing career?
Phil is great, man. He's helped me, mentor me, and more than just racing. I mean, he's seen me grow up. And when he started helping me, he had to drive me to the track because I didn't have a license, So now, now he's helped me transition from that part of my life to, where I am now on and off the track. And he's helped me learn so much about the cars themselves, and he's never been above teaching me or trying to help me understand, which that's made me a better driver. And then just he's prepared me for so many situations because he also spots for me. A lot of people don't know he's also my spotter. So throughout the race, I always have him in my ear the whole, more than anybody. That is huge right there. That's like having one of the best that ever drove in your ear all night long, keeping you calm. And he can relate to a lot of the situations because he's been through it.
Well, there's always a plus and there's always a minus. Also, having him as a spotter, he's been there, done that, got the T-shirt and the souvenir bumper sticker. So you can't stretch the truth. He already knows before you tell him what's going on.
It's funny because Phil's always been like a very, I don't know exactly the word I'm looking for, but he's just same attitude. He doesn't get excited.
Even keeled.
Exactly.
Steady Eddie. Yep.
And as he's been working with me, I feel like I always mess with him. I said, I'm bringing the youth back into him because, he's a, older veteran and I was this young kid and we got together. I'm young, so I do stupid stuff or have fun. And now I'm starting to see the joking side of him that nobody really saw before. We just have a good time, and he's got that chemistry with me where he's going to tell me if I'm wrong or right. And I want him to. And there's been some instances that have happened where he's like, you did nothing wrong. And to this day, I'm like, if he said I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
And because he'll be the first person to tell me, yeah, you turned that guy, or that was pretty bad, So I've tried to learn from my mistakes. I mean, you're going to have that in racing, and having him there to back me. He tries to not be biased on that type of stuff because he wants me to learn from it, and he wants me to lead and be out front instead of in traffic tearing stuff up. So anything he can do to help, he's going to do it.
Your car sticks out. It's easily recognizable. How did you come up? And I understand when you have old school video games as your sponsor on the side panels, but the numbers look like you built them in Minecraft.
I'm biased. I think it's one of the most unique schemes out there where we're talking about branding. What better way to brand a video game store with that type of number and scheme? And I feel like our car is so unique in the late model world that people remember it. They might not know who I am, but they'll be like the Mario car or something like that. So
it would be really cool on the hood of that late model if you had one of the ghosts from Pac-Man?
Well, I might as well let the cat out of the bag. We've been talking about this for a while. Speaking of Pac-Man, we've been wanting to put down the skirt of the car, the Pac-Man eating the numbers of all our competitors at Langley.
There you go. That's
like, we've been wanting to do that for a while, and we've been talking about it, and just having all their number fonts lined up with the Pac-Man gobbling them. I thought that would be really cool, but the ghost would be cool too.
Let me switch gears for just a second. You talk about your brand. You talk about the way you're concentrating not only on your racecraft, but on marketing who you are, in hopes, I'm sure, of winning not only track titles on the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, but also getting that phone call, getting that golden ticket to move up and at least put your toe in the water in one of NASCAR's premier divisions. How deep-seated is that desire for Brenden Queen?
It's huge. I mean, I dreamed of it my whole life, and I'll be honest, this is a podcast, so we can be honest. I had an opportunity, and I went to Daytona and ran the ARCA race in 2019. The whole deal was a little rocky, and it kind of fell apart, and I was supposed to race more than that. And when that kind of happened, it lit a fire under me to make my late model program better. So I'm not getting any younger. The odds of somebody calling and being like, hey, we want you to drive our car, are like hitting the lottery unless you have money. And I've kind of just took the pressure off and said, I want to go race my late model, and I want to be a competitive program to where I can go to whatever track I go to and win races. And if something was to happen to get me to the next level, I will greatly take it. But as far as it's gotten so hard to get that kind of money, unless it's in the family or something along that, it's so rare to like actually find a sponsor nowadays that can come with that kind of money, especially now with the way that the world is at this moment too. Obviously, I would love to move up, but if not, I'm going to have fun with my late model program and maybe one day chase a national title or something. I don't really want to be a one track wonder type of guy. I want to be able to Cars Tour, something I want to possibly go to. And, I want to travel around, but I definitely want to win races at Langley. Obviously. I mean, that's my home track, and it's where my friends can come watch and family, but, it's kind of got a mixed emotion on now. Obviously, if you called me right now and said, hey, we're going truck racing, I'm there,
Yeah.
But I also, the older I've gotten, it's a reality of it. And it took me a while to understand that. When I was 18 or 19, I'm like, no, it's going to happen. And then once I got into my early 20s now, it's like, okay, I gotta make sure that I'm going to be okay for the rest of my life. If this doesn't happen, I got to have something to where I can keep racing late models at least. I don't want to be sitting here as a bum with no race cars and no house and stuff like that. So it kind of hit that part of my life where that's all became a reality. And I'm trying to I'm day by day right now trying to take it in, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Young man, don't give up on your dream, because dreams do come true.
Hey,
and
I believe you.
And listen, I appreciate you visiting with us. I'm going to get down there probably later this year, and I'll tell you what, you and I can go over to Larry's Hard Lemonade stand and hang out after the race. How about that?
Heck yeah! If they're closed, we'll have something in the trailer for you.
There you go. Brenden, good luck for the rest of the season, and we appreciate your visiting with us here on the Wind Tunnel. I'm going to give you a little homework, though, okay? Because you've got that nickname Butterbean and you want to make that your brand. You need to research and find an old vinyl LP entitled NASCAR Goes Country. And the late, great Buddy Baker's song on that, his cut, is Butterbean.
Really? I have to check that out.
Check it out.
Be sure to join us again next week for another trip to racing's grassroots with the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series, advancing the next generation of drivers and champions. I'm Kyle Rickey from the Motor Racing Network.
We'll be back with more here of this week's Wind Tunnel right after these messages.
Coming up next.
8 races so far this year, 7 different winners. The only driver to win twice is Austin Cindric. Justin Allgaier trying to add his name to the list. Here comes Allgaier off the turn 4.
Yes, sir.
Justin Allgaier is the man at Darlington.
They call him Lil Gator. I'll visit with Justin Allgaier right after this timeout.
We're hitting the brakes, but we'll be back on track after this.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
What a day for Justin Allgaier. Not just winning, but beating one of the best all time. Here's Allgaier getting his first win of the year at Cummins at Atlanta.
Excellent work. I wanted to win this place for a long time. And that was awesome right there. Excellent job. Big crew. Awesome. Eddie, awesome. Man, that was awesome.
Some folks call him Little Gator, but for Justin Allgaier, driver of the Junior Motorsports number 7 Camaro in NASCAR's Xfinity Series, I'm sure that his proudest name is Dad.
Yeah, you're right. Little Gator is a cool nickname, and it's cool because it means a lot, to my dad. With him being Big Gator, me being Little Gator, but on top of that, yes, I would say Dad is probably my favorite name of the game right now.
ESPN, and pardon the interruptions, Tony Kornheiser once said to me, and he's not a race fan, Justin, that there are only 2 sports that are passed on in terms of popularity and interest from one generation to the next, and that is baseball and auto racing. You benefited from that. Tell my listeners just a little bit about your racing connection, your dad's connection, and how all of that created your desire to become a race car driver.
Yeah, you're 100% right with that sentiment, that it is kind of a passed on love. I think that there are a lot of fans that have jumped into our sport and have fallen in love with it. But it's something that for me, I didn't really have a choice. My parents have well, first of all, my parents are a little older than normal parents of somebody that's my age. So my parents are in their mid 70s, and that's good and bad, right? So
yep.
My parents tried for years to have children. They were always told they would never have children. And luckily later on in life, they were able to have children. And I'm the lucky one that they were able to have. And through that though, what that allowed them to do was really focus on their business. My dad is, so I actually just heard this and I had never heard this before, but everybody always uses the jack of all trades, master of none, right? That's always the statement that people that make. I didn't know that there was more to that statement. But it's a jack of all trades, a master of none. A master of one is better than, now I'm screwing it up. Master, I don't know. Anyways, basically saying that, it was better to have a lot of different things in your life than just one. And my dad's done that. So he was a candyman. He was a Mac tool salesman. But most importantly, he was a race tire salesman and a racing parts salesman. So my parents were going to the racetrack each and every week, and they were, selling tires and parts to the racers around home in Illinois. And when I was born, that's that's what they did. That was where their time and energy was spent, is, taking care of the racers and being at the racetrack. And, it grew to a point of where my dad was actually the tire distributor for, still is the tire distributor for Hoosier Racing Tire for the entire Midwest. But we also used to be the exclusive tire distributor for the ARCA Racing Series, which is now owned by NASCAR. Yeah. So I grew up going to NASCAR races, to ARCA races, not knowing that was not normal, right?
Right.
I just thought that was what everybody did. And so I wanted to be at the racetrack. I wanted to be around it and wanted to be racing myself. And what's kind of ironic is, Hoosier took that business internal and they actually took over that side of things internally, because it had grown to a place of where it had gotten bigger than one distributor taking care of it. And that's what allowed my dad to really focus in on, my racing and help me and be at the racetrack with me and be a part of it. And, they say the rest is history, and that's a good thing for me. But, it definitely has been, it's come honest for me. And it's something that, I was born into, and I absolutely love every minute of it.
Like a lot of guys, you honed your racecraft coming up through the ladder. Tell me a little bit about when you got the phone call from Roger Penske that was going to most likely provide you with the key to opening the door to climb the ladder in NASCAR.
Well, so when I started in the ARCA series, the goal was to obviously keep going with my career and the goal is always to make it to NASCAR, right?
Sure.
And I think it's interesting, I think you look at Major League Baseball or as you mentioned earlier, you mentioned football or you talk about basketball. So on every team, there's 30 plus players, I would assume, right? Like
pretty close. Yeah.
Reserve player. I mean, football's got 60, 62 or something like that. Every sport's got a number that they go to, right? And racing is very interesting because it's only one, right? So each car only has one driver. Now, granted, there's mechanics and there's engineers and there's people that work on the cars, but from a driver's standpoint, which is where I wanted to be at, there's only one. I think that the likelihood of getting there is a little different because, I grew up playing baseball and soccer and, all these other sports and was able to be a part of that and do it relatively easy and very cheap, when racing was not that way. Racing was, very expensive. I literally was out, selling sponsorship in my race car at 5 years old. That's wow. Honestly got true. That my very first sponsor when I was 5 years old, my dad was like, listen, if this is what you want to do, this is, we don't have the money to support racing. So if this is what you want to do, you're going to have to be the one that's out there doing it. And that was what started all of it. But anyways, we get to the ARCA series. We were way out of our element as far as just understanding, knowledge, money. I wasn't in Charlotte. I was in Springfield, Illinois. So, well outside of the realm of what happens in the everyday of the NASCAR world. And we didn't have access to all the equipment and the people and the personnel. But I had a really good friend, Kenny Strader. And I know Kenny Strader.
Oh yeah,
Jack,
very well.
An insanely good person, and a lover of the sport as a whole. It doesn't matter if it's got 2 wheels, 4 wheels, if it's in the water. I think he'd drive about anything. But Kenny Strader actually gave me a car. Let me borrow a car and said, here, go use this and see what comes of it. So we did that. Ultimately ended up winning a few races. And so in 2008, we were at Pocono, Pennsylvania, and I met a gentleman through a friend of a friend on my way to driver intros. I was late, which was a pretty common theme for me. I was trying to get to driver intros and I was late. And I met this gentleman, told him I needed to go, and I apologized. And I went out to the starting grid, made it in time, ultimately won the race that day. And come to find out, that gentleman was basically the director of competition for Team Penske. So he called me later on the next week and said, hey, I loved getting to meet you. I'm sorry that we held you up, but we've been talking about you and you seem like you'd be a really good fit here at Team Penske. Would you be interested in coming to lunch with us one day and just seeing, just having a conversation with us? Well, I didn't know if they knew that I lived in Illinois or not. Didn't matter. I basically emptied my bank account to get a plane ticket and a rental car to be able to fly to Charlotte and come to lunch. And so I went to lunch with some of the folks from Team Penske, and when we sat down for lunch, basically we talked for 2 or 3 hours. And ultimately the answer was, hey, look, we're sorry, we don't have anything for you. We're not really sure what the direction we're going to go is, but we appreciate you coming to lunch with us. And I'm sure you can imagine, I was devastated because I was thinking that this is going to be my all-time great opportunity and things were going to work out, and they didn't. And so about 2 weeks went by, I got a phone call, and they said, hey, we've talked about you a lot around here, and Mr. Penske would like to meet you. We're all going to be in Chicago together for the IndyCar race and the ARCA race. They're going to be there on the same weekend. Would you be willing to stick around to Sunday to meet Roger Penske? And
didn't take you long to answer yes to that, did it?
It did not. No. And I think being a student of the sport, knowing what he's been able to accomplish and what he stands for, probably more than anything, that was an easy decision. And so I went to the meeting with him the next day, and I actually had gotten a contract from a really from a smaller Xfinity Series team at the time that was interested in maybe doing something. And they had wanted me to sign the contract. They were actually wanting me to sign the contract the Friday before I met Mr. Penske on a Sunday. And I said, I need to hold off on this. And so when we sat down in the meeting, I had a great meeting with Roger and really loved, having that moment and getting to know him a little bit. And I said, listen, I don't want to mess anything up here, but here I've got this contract. And I said, if you're in my situation, you need to understand, like, I don't have anything. I'm not going to be able to finish out the end of the ARCA series this year. And I don't have anything going forward. And this is on the table. And they wanted me to sign on Friday. I held off to come see you. I just don't know what to do. And he said, give me 24 hours. And ultimately Monday, I flew to Detroit, Michigan. He sent a plane to pick me up. We sat down in his hangar in Detroit, Michigan, and laid out what would eventually be my contract. And I pretty much committed to going to Team Penske that particular day. And that's the ship that's kind of guided my path. Obviously I'm not still there, and things have changed a lot since then, but really, really fortunate to have driven for the captain and been a part of that organization. And obviously that's led me to a lot of really cool things in this sport, and still able to do it today.
I'll have more with Justin Allgaier after we take this timeout.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
We continue with my conversation with Xfinity Series driver of the number 7 Camaro, Justin Allgaier. Your career, like almost any other driver, Justin, has not been without some exit ramps and some tests of your mettle and your passion for this sport. How important has your faith been to keep your eyes focused going forward?
Oh, more than you know. I think the funny thing about life is, when you are a believer in Christ, right? You have this understanding, I guess, maybe not an agreement of, but you have an understanding that nothing is promised, right? And the things that we want to see happen here on earth aren't necessarily always in line with what God's plans are for us, right? And that's okay. For me, in that moment, let me just start by saying this. So the moment that I told you about in Pocono, when I met this gentleman that week, so that was my birthday week. There's a lot of things that were going on, and my dad's birthday present to me, if you will, was telling me that we were out of money and that we were literally going to have to pack up shop and be done racing unless something were to happen. And the end game of all of this is that that's obviously not what happened. And I was able to get an opportunity and go and carry on my dream. But every time that I've kind of gotten to the point in my career where things are looking like, hey, this is the end of the road, this is where it all stops, I've had to look myself in the mirror and say, okay, if today is the day, right, if this is the last hurrah, am I okay with that? Can I accept the fact that I'm done, right? And every time I've basically prayed about, hey, you know what, if this is it, if this is where I'm at, right? And this is your plan for me. I'm good with that. And if I need to walk away today, I'll walk away today. Every time God's opened a door that's led me down a path that maybe wasn't what I thought was going to be the case, but that path has always been there, right? And I'm not going to tell you that forever it's always going to be in racing, because there's a good chance that, at some point that path is going to change and it may not be in racing. But, it's I've been lucky that I've been in this sport for a long time, and God keeps providing, places and people. And, one of the biggest ones for me has been Rick Brandt. Obviously, if you follow my career at all, you've seen me drive that bright red, Brandt professional agriculture machine. And that's been a huge part of my career in the last 10 years. And it's a kind of a cool story. Didn't know Rick. We grew up opposite sides of Springfield, Illinois, and didn't know him, didn't run in the same circle, didn't know anything about their company really. And I met his aunt. I actually got to go to their offices and meet his aunt a couple of years before I ultimately ended up meeting Rick, and got to know her a little bit. And then, years later, two people kind of put us in connection, and was fortunate enough to meet Rick at Gateway at the race down there. And I guess the rest is just history. It's things have worked out for them to be a part of my racing program and be a part of my career. And I wouldn't change that for anything. So, every time I'm not going to say that I question God, but I give myself the opportunity to say, hey, is this it? Are we done? Or we keep going? Those doors have opened, and it's been a major part of who I am today. In this sport, it's really easy to kind of feel like, and I think the sport of auto racing kind of has a way of making you feel like you're more important than you really are. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but a lot of drivers tend to have that feeling that, hey, this is me and I'm doing all this. And in all reality, it's not me. I'm lucky that I have the ability, and God's given me the ability to go do this. And so
you have been very open and very candid about the importance of your family, so much so that when your second child was about to be born, if it meant you missing a race, you were totally prepared to do it. There aren't a lot of professional athletes, Justin, that can balance the two and realize that the priorities are exactly what Justin Allgaier stands for. And that's family first, friends second, and job third.
Well, I think my deal is a little bit interesting in the fact that, like I said, I grew up in this sport because of my family. And when I was younger, we did everything together as a family. We traveled together, we raced together. Everything we did was as a family. And, I'm lucky in the fact that I have an amazing wife that she loves this sport and supports me 1,000%, no matter, what the circumstances are. Now, what I will say, she's not my biggest cheerleader. She's definitely my biggest critic. I think sometimes it's really easy to have people around you that are yes people, right? And they tell you what you want to hear. And sometimes that's not always the best thing for your career, right? And so, my wife has been a huge part of what I do, and a huge supporter of me, and my parents and my in-laws. We do this as a family, and so for me, it's always about making the most of the family aspect of it, and being there and being a part of it, and them supporting me, and so I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. I would have already flunked out of this sport that I love by making decisions, that I probably shouldn't have made, right? But I've had this good support system around me and good people around me to be a part of it, and that's the difference maker.
You are indeed an inspiration, not only to people within the racing family, but outside the racing community as well. And ultimately, that's the most important thing. You can take all those trophies and throw them in a box in a storage container. That's not what's going to count. And I consider myself very, very fortunate to know you and to be able to cover your racing exploits and be able to tell other people about your passions, especially today here on Wind Tunnel.
Well, man, I appreciate it. It's I'll tell you, it's good people like yourself that you're around in this sport that make you realize why we keep doing it, right? I mean, obviously, we're all competitive and we all love what we do, and we love being a part of this. But truly, honestly, For me, it's been about the people and the things that I'm around. And you're right. We're very lucky to have the sport that we do and the people that are in it. So, I appreciate that. And for me, I look at it this way. You look at racing and as much as I love the sport, I'm gonna be gone someday. And you're right. These trophies that are here, they're all really cool, and I love having them, but they're all gonna rust or tarnish or break apart or fade away. And I've always felt like no matter what, if people are gonna remember me for who I am. I've taken that very serious over time, and wanted to make sure that when I walked away from the sport that people remember it in a good way, not in a bad way. So I appreciate that you noticed that. I appreciate you giving your heart and soul into this sport and recognizing this sport for so many years and being a part of it. And it's always good to catch up with you, man. I really do appreciate it.
I do too. And best wishes, continued success, both on and off the track, Justin, because you are a special guy. Thanks so much.
Absolutely, buddy. Thank you.
With Advance Auto Parts, you can get the part you need from the comfort of your garage. We have a wide variety of parts in stock, and you can get them fast. Order online with Advance Same Day and get your part with same-day pickup in-store, same-day curbside, or same-day delivery. It's the fastest way to get the part you need, where you need it, when you need it. Advance your auto at Advance Auto Parts and participating CarQuest locations. See store for details.
The news traveled quickly, and for most of us, it was news that we knew was coming, but it certainly didn't diminish the sorrow. Bob Jenkins, one of racing's iconic voices, passed away last Monday after an 8-month battle with brain cancer. His career spanned 50 years and stretched from IndyCars to NASCAR, USAC, sports car racing, and even Formula One. It didn't take long for the tributes to Bob Jenkins to pour in. Roger Penske said, and I quote, "Bob Jenkins had an incredible passion for racing, and his enthusiasm, combined with his genuine love and knowledge of the sport, endeared him to motorsports fans all over the world. His announcing career spanned almost 50 years, and to an entire generation, the sound of Bob's voice simply meant it was time to go racing." The legendary voice became the soundtrack for the month of May at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jeff Gordon wrote of Jenkins, "Bob was not just a legendary voice for motorsports. He was someone who very much loved what he did and those involved in the motorsports community. I will never forget the big moments he called for so many, including me." From Mario Andretti came this tribute. "Our sport has lost a wonderful man and an iconic voice. Bob Jenkins is unforgettable. Myself and so many others have lost a dear and loyal friend." Doug Bowles, president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, may have captured the racing community's sentiments the best when he posted this open letter on social media. "I grew up a fan of all racing, but especially the Indy 500, Bowles wrote. As a kid and a young adult, just to keep up with the sport, I had to read newspaper articles and racing magazines. And then along came Bob Jenkins. His familiar IMS radio network voice transitioned to the familiar TV screen on shows like Speed Week and individual race broadcasts. And he led the transformation of the way race fans enjoyed the sport, which fueled amazing growth in the world of auto racing." Bowles continued, "But through all the successes, Bob never changed from what he truly was at heart, a race fan. His humility and ability to always remain a fan, even when he was the top racing commentator in the sport, is why race fans around the world loved watching or listening to any race called by Bob Jenkins. He, you see, was one of us. Thank you, Bob, for loving our sport so much and working so hard to tell the stories in a way that brought us all along with you. You will be missed," said Doug Bowles. "But the love of racing you've helped grow in so many will be your lasting legacy." Here's Dave First with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway's tribute to one of America's premier motorsports voices.
We all know the famous call.
Coming to the finish line, Bob Jenkins, who's going to win it?
We've heard it countless times.
The checkered flag is out.
Goodyear makes a move. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
Bob Jenkins helped create history that day on May 24th, 1992. Making that type of goosebump-inducing call came after years and years of working in the motorsport industry and perfecting his broadcasting craft.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins.
Bob was born in 1947 and grew up in Liberty, Indiana, and attended Indiana University. As a true Hoosier, Bob fell in love with the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as a kid.
I was 12 years old. It was one of those days in which I did indeed fall in love with and have never been able to kick whatever bit me that day.
Bob's first TV appearance was for NBC, covering the inaugural kart race in March of 1979. That same year, he started with both ESPN and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network when he called his first Indy 500.
Bob Jenkins, welcome to the Speedway Network.
Thank you, Paul. A pleasure to be on the world's greatest network. The cars have just passed by me on this parade lap, and it's a sight that you can see a dozen times. But every year it sends chills from head to foot.
Wait a minute. Am I really supposed to be here? I'm about to be on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network and being heard by millions and millions of people around the world. And not only that, but get to witness live the greatest spectacle in racing.
His career really took off in 1983 when the long-running weekly show Speed Week first aired on ESPN.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins. Welcome to our premiere Speed Week show.
He hosted Speed Week for 14 years, and they covered everything, from stock cars to off-road racing.
They would send tape or that film to us. We would watch it, we would write stories, we would edit it, and we had only 4 people. So I think that says something for the people that we did hire for that show.
Along with Speed Week, Bob was also part of other dirt racing projects through the years, like the very popular show Thursday Night Thunder, which later turned into Saturday Night Thunder.
You've never seen anything like this that you're going to see tonight.
He anchored NASCAR on ESPN from 1981 to 2000. He was on hundreds of NASCAR broadcasts where he was in the booth for many iconic moments.
It's Richard Petty's final ride.
He was part of the broadcast crew for the inaugural Brickyard 400 in 1994.
Now joining us today for live coverage is the most experienced TV race caller in NASCAR, Bob Jenkins. Hello, everyone, from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Bob left ESPN and continued to work in different roles for Versus, NBCSN, and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, all covering IndyCar and the Indianapolis 500. He retired in 2012 from NBCSN and left TV after 34 years to help take care of his wife, Pam, who ultimately lost her battle with cancer later that year.
This will be my final year doing television motorsports.
Even though he retired from TV, Bob couldn't stay away from the Speedway and the Indy 500 for long.
I'll tell you something that makes me cry unashamedly are the moments just before the start, with the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana, the playing of taps, and all the other things that go into those pre-race ceremonies.
Bob kept his role as part of the IMS public address team from 2013 through the 2020 season.
There's nothing like Bob Jenkins' voice to make a race fan feel like they're in the right spot in the month of May.
Over the years, Bob was able to do things at IMS that he'd only dreamed of back in 1960 when he first fell in love with the Speedway. He drove A.J. Foyt's 1961 winning Roadster around the track.
You just don't know what Indy means to me, and that was the ultimate experience for me.
He was invited to wave the green flag to start Carb Day in 2012.
I didn't wave it as vigorously as I probably could, but I was all caught up in the moment.
And he was even inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame in 2019.
The fact I have received the ring and the medallion and been named to the Hall of Fame is my Indy 500 win. Nothing else will ever come close to this honor.
When he was diagnosed with brain cancer at the end of 2020, Bob used a few short words to eloquently encompass everything he's accomplished as a race fan, a motorsports broadcaster, and one of the legendary voices of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
I have only been a race fan who got lucky, and I think that's what I will have on my tombstone, because it's true.
I had the honor of working next to Bob for most of my broadcasting career, and I wanted to share with each of you the Bob Jenkins that I knew. Bob Jenkins never owned and never drove a race car, but for more than 40 years, he shared our living rooms and our passion for the sport of auto racing. His career made him a friend to everyone. His humility and his egoless life journey inspired all of us. He was, you see, every man, someone who always made others better. Bob never sought the spotlight. In fact, he shied from it, fearing that somehow any accolades that came his way would diminish appreciation for others. From Thursday Night Thunder, where he introduced us to Jeff Gordon, to ESPN's coverage of NASCAR and IndyCar, Bob Jenkins became a trusted friend. He made others, from Ned Jarrett and Benny Parsons to Scott Goodyear and Eddie Cheever, the true stars of the show. When others excelled, he would always smile. When others would fail, he offered his hand. Bob Jenkins lived a life that we all should strive to emulate. He was special.
My first year of anchoring the ABC telecast of the Indy 500 was 1999, and it was a dream come true. Being a part of the team was a goal that went back to my childhood in a little town in eastern Indiana. I remember watching the race with Jim McKay, Jackie Stewart, and others, but little did I think I would someday have the opportunity to follow in their footsteps. My producer was a no-nonsense guy who would tell me that every night he would go to bed and wake up the next morning thinking about how he could improve that year's telecast to the next year. I was so nervous and excited in 1999, but so grateful to ABC in trusting me with their coverage. And personally, I thank you so much, ABC, for allowing me that privilege. And I think I speak for millions of race fans across the world. You did a great job in those 54 years, a job very well done.
I'll miss my friend Bob Jenkins, but I know that he is with the angels, and the angels are the better for his presence. Well, that yet again brings a close to the wind tunnel. Remember that the entire wind tunnel series can now be downloaded at your favorite download site. I appreciate you visiting. Look forward to seeing you again next week, right here on Jackaroot's Wind Tunnel.
Today's trip to the wind tunnel was brought to you by
Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of NASCAR.